Hey guys, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Chainlink. We're going to be looking at how it has performed with respect to Bitcoin, looking at a lot of custom graphs. We try to, present things in a way that you won't often find presented elsewhere because I make these custom charts. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want, check out this Telegram channel here, which you can find in the description below if you want to talk about these charts. And then finally, turn your notifications on so you can be notified of future videos. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here. The first chart is just showing price versus time. You can see the bubble from 2017 has pretty easily been dwarfed at this point by the price action a couple years later. This is fairly impressive, for a coin to completely outperform what it did back in 2017, 2018 during this extended bear market that we've had. And we're going to go through systematically, exactly how it has performed and try to get an idea of, how it's stacked up against Bitcoin. So this is just a linear scale on price, and then we have time on the x-axis. But we've noted before that the issue with linear scales is that it's hard to see, relative changes, and for that reason we go to a logarithmic scale. So on this scale, I'm showing every major tick here. So every move from 0.1 to 1, that's a 10x move. And then from 1 to 10 is another 10x move. So it's not linear, it's logarithmic. So if you're unfamiliar with logarithmic scales, just take a few minutes to consider, the implications of this, what they are when you look at the price, because it's not just going up linearly, it's going up logarithmically on this scale. So let's go ahead and look at the price when we say compare it to Bitcoin. So on the y-axis, the primary y-axis, we have Link, and again it's on a log scale. And then on the secondary y-axis, we have the price of Bitcoin. But note that right now the price of Bitcoin, it is on a linear scale. So we have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20, and 25,000. So the grid lines you see are actually for Link and not Bitcoin. So I just want to reiterate how impressive the move that Link has seen, because again with Bitcoin, which is the red line, you can see that its peak was up here at around 20,000, and the current price is around 7,000. Whereas the peak for Link was between $1 and $2, and it's already trading for twice that, which I think is fairly impressive. So let's look at the ROI. So this is since November 9th, 2017. The reason I chose that is just because that's when I could get the data for Link. So basically starting at this point. Now, is it fair to choose an arbitrary point in time and compare the ROI of two assets? No, it's not. Because before this, Bitcoin has seen 100,000x return on investment. The issue is that for people coming into the market now, or even for people who were able to realize gains on Bitcoin in the past, you're still interested, obviously, in continuing to find assets that are historically performing well. And historically speaking, if you just look at the ROI since Link has been around, you can see that the ROI for Link since that point is between 10 and 20x, so maybe around 15x or so. But since November of 2017, Bitcoin is actually just under break even. So you would be at a slight loss based on had you bought Bitcoin at this point back in 2017 as to where you would be now. Which the difference between these two is, this is 10 to 15x better return on your investment with Chainlink than it would have been with Bitcoin. And we have been covering Chainlink for a little while on this channel. I do have a Link playlist, so I would encourage you to just go watch some of those videos. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more analysis on Chainlink, there is a playlist that goes through several different types of metrics. One of the things I've spoken about, extensively on my channel is the idea of the 20-week moving average for Bitcoin. The reason we talk about this is because, historically speaking, it is generally a good indicator for when we are in a bull market. Because when we're in a bull market, you can see that the price tends to stay above the 20-week moving average, and it holds it as support, generally speaking. When we're in a bear market, you can see it generally holds it as resistance. And then when we get above the 20-week, we tend to move up. When we get below the 20-week, Bitcoin tends to move down much further than the 20-week. And during that time, the importance of this for this video on Link is typically when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, altcoins do not usually perform that well. But when Bitcoin is above its 20-week moving average, this is when confidence resumes to the altcoin market. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because here we're just going to show in red we have basically what this is showing, it's showing the price of Link, but it's color coded. So if you see it red, that was when Bitcoin was above the 20-week moving average. If it's yellow, it's when Bitcoin was below the 20-week moving average. So again, if you go back to this chart, you can see when Bitcoin's above the 20-week, it tends to be more in a bull market. Where it's below the 20-week, it tends to be in a bear market. So when Bitcoin was above the 20-week in 2017, you can see that Chainlink, Link, saw a very significant return of around 10x or so had you bought at this point and maximized your return. During when Bitcoin is in a bear market and when it's below the 20-week moving average, you can see that it doesn't tend to do a whole lot. And this is with respect to the US dollar. Not with respect to Bitcoin. This is what is Chainlink doing? What is Link doing? Its price, which remember, this is a logarithmic scale. What is it doing when Bitcoin is above and below the 20-week? So if you say draw a line, what happens when the price of Bitcoin went below the 20-week? Well, you can see that it dropped and then it came back up. But ultimately, during the time that Bitcoin was below the 20-week moving average, the price of Link actually ended up being not too far off from where it was when Bitcoin originally went below the 20-week. Whereas for a lot of altcoins, this is not the case. They tend to lose a significant amount of value during this time. You would expect them to, if we had pulled up other assets, you would have seen that a lot of them lose a significant amount of value when Bitcoin is below the 20-week. But Link has managed to stay basically on par with its value with respect to the US dollar during that extended macro level view. Obviously, if you're looking at these shorter term moves, you're going to see a lot of volatility. But from when it broke the 20-week to when it went above the 20-week, for Bitcoin, the price of Link was more or less unchanged. Again, here you can see that when Bitcoin went above the 20-week, Link performed phenomenally well. Again, it went from here it went from around 50 cents or so to several dollars, and then it retraced. One of the interesting things is you can see that Link, it tends to retrace, and before Bitcoin breaks the 20-week moving average, and this makes sense because when Bitcoin's going on a bull run, it does at some point it corrects, and during that correction, a lot of other coins correct before it gets down to the 20-week and then breaks it. So you can see though that when Bitcoin was above the 20-week over here, Link had a pretty nice move. Again, in 2019, Bitcoin got above the 20-week. Link had another very similar move. If we were to put these next to each other, they're pretty similar moves in what they look like. When Bitcoin broke the 20-week, you can see that for the most part, the value of Link was pretty much unchanged from when it broke the 20-week to then when Bitcoin got back above the 20-week. Now, obviously, it changed by a few cents. What's a few cents among friends? But ultimately, we had this move up and this move down. And at the end of the day, during that time that a lot of altcoins were not doing that well, Link was still holding its own. Finally, you can see in the first quarter of this year, Bitcoin again got above the 20-week moving average. But this time, it wasn't above the 20-week moving average for nearly as long as it had been in 2019 and back in 2017/2018. Nevertheless, during this time, Link saw another move, pretty much on par with these. It was increasing somewhat at the same rate, but because the time that the price of Bitcoin was above the 20-week, this was short-lived, and you can see that it did come straight back down. And if we were to, supposedly draw another line, then maybe the value of Link, if it were to follow historical patterns, would, be somewhat, and you can already see the price is somewhat close to that line because none of these are actually perfect. But we would hope, we could look back at historical patterns anyways, just looking at data science and seeing that the valuation of Link is somewhat similar when Bitcoin gets back to the 20-week moving average as it was when Bitcoin broke through the 20-week moving average to the downside. And if that were the case, if this were to repeat, not saying that it would, then you can see that it would be approximately at that region. Now I should reiterate again, I say it in many videos, this is not financial advice. This is just me looking at long-term market analysis using looking at it through data science lens, nothing more, nothing less. So let's continue on here. This here is the valuation of Link with respect to Bitcoin. And I want to pull this up because, when you're looking at just the price of Link, you can see it, it kind of goes up, it comes down. It goes up and it goes down. And while we ultimately see that the price is more or less increasing, not monotonically, obviously, but it is more or less increasing over time, the trend isn't as clear with respect to the US dollar as it is with respect to Bitcoin, which is, the mover of the cryptocurrency asset class under most circumstances with respect to most cryptocurrencies. But with Link, and if you just plot it with respect to Bitcoin, so even though the price of Link might be going down or staying the same, during many of these times, its valuation with respect to Bitcoin is increasing. And it's pretty consistently increasing for the last 2 years. I know people love imaginary lines, so I'll go ahead and just plop a couple of them on the screen. You can see that we've basically been in this channel for 2 years, and the valuation with respect to Bitcoin is historically speaking is fairly attractive to see that we've come down to this line a number of times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times over the last 2 years, and ultimately every single time Link has managed to continue to go on, not always to higher highs. So for instance, this time it hit this bottom of the channel. By the time it reached its short-term peak in January of 2019 or first quarter of 2019, it was higher than its peak, at least on the daily time frame, from back in 2018. The next one bottomed, I would say somewhere early summer of 2019 or so, peaked again, and again we had a higher high. So we have a high, a higher high, a higher high. This one was a lower high. But again, we came back down to the trend line, and then we ultimately formed a higher high. So clearly this is a very bullish trend. It seems to be among maybe the best performer in the cryptocurrency asset class. I can't say that definitively for sure because it's possible there's some random coins out there that have performed very well, but among the top coins, by market cap, Link has performed exceptionally well in the last 2 years. So if you guys like this content, again, please subscribe to the channel. I do try to cover several different coins. We cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, obviously we cover Link, cover many other coins. So if you guys like it, please subscribe. If you want to talk about the stuff, check out the Telegram channel, which you can see at the bottom right hand portion of your screen. If you want to support the channel, I do have a way you can do that if you check out the description below. But other than that, I thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.